Hello and welcome back. It's been a little bit longer than I thought it would be to get back around to filming for this series. Things got crazier than I expected they would be at the end of December, and then kind of stayed crazy into January. Then it was Lightovation, and now for the past couple of weeks I've been busy doing follow-ups from Lightovation. I've already received some new products for upcoming features, so things are moving and there's a lot of great stuff coming. As far as updates, I have a couple, but nothing really major. Like I said, I haven't had time for much of anything. It's just been like 15-20 minutes here or there as I have it. So kind of the main thing I've done is gotten this area cleared out again from the plumbing situation. I still had that shelving with all the fan motors sitting on it as of a week ago. I really needed to get that cleared up and make this a viable pathway again. Eventually I'll have to deal with all these pedestal fans again, but for the moment that's not so much a pressing issue. I'm not going to go into too much detail for the moment because I'm not really there yet, but I'm going to be looking at revamping some of my storage and how it's done. It's been years and years of stuff just kind of sitting around out here and lingering. I want to get this side into a more presentable, display-oriented area and work toward flipping some of this mess into the back side. I'm still kind of working out all of the solutions and how I'm going to execute and accomplish all that. But with that being said, it really doesn't matter where I put this stuff for the moment. And actually, I don't really want it to clutter up back here because I think I'm going to have to start back here with what I want to move out to this side. The idea is going to be that I can display these boxes a little bit more rather than just having them piled up in storage. And then with some of this new in-box stuff out there, I'll have the space back here to kind of make it a little bit more of a storage mess. I feel like this side has more semblance of order than out on the display side, so I'm gonna attempt to flip that around as much as I can. You can see back here I got everything back up into storage. Again, that plumbing stuff was basically a couple months ago at this point, so it was really time to get that back in order. I have not yet gotten the new in-box stuff out of this corner. Since I'm going to be revamping some things, these may not even go back where they were, so I'm just leaving them here for the time being, rather than moving them twice. I am currently in the weeks of posting my content with Cyan, so I've got these back here in temp storage. They're basically ready to go on display now, and I think that's what I want to work toward today. And then as far as display goes, I haven't done much. I started taking this one down so that I can get that block up to move it over. And then I did also fully decide that I'm going to move this location slightly over as well, because in planning to bring in new products for this year and planning out where everything could go, I was realizing that if I put a 60-inch fan in this location as I have now, I'm really limited to 42-inch in this spot. It would be nice to have flexibility more up to 44-inch and potentially 48-inch. If I were to put a 56-inch here, then I could probably fit a 48-inch over here. So eventually I'll circle back and get those done. And then over here I just threw this Millennium up in an open location. I did the remake video and then decided that maybe I would want to use it on display somewhere this year. I also maybe will not, but I figured I've got open locations. I might as well toss it up rather than take it apart and then have to put it back together again later. It might not necessarily stay here and I might do a different light kit or something, but again, it's just here to save time later in case I want to use it. So I've got several other things that I'm trying to get done today outside of vlog projects. So I'm not going to do a ton today, but as I said, I'm already receiving new products to work with. So that means I need to open up these temporary storage locations so that I can start working with those products. So the reason I came over here is because the Sura is going to come down. I wouldn't mind trying to keep it up somewhere else temporarily, but the 60-inch size is kind of a limiting factor. So I'm just going to have to go ahead and retire it for the time being. I do think that the original is going to come down this display cycle. However, for the time being, I'm going to move it back over to this location. I might as well have something here rather than it being an empty location for who knows how long. and it's 52 inch, so it'll fit next to the Coronado. And then I'm going to do the Baron in this location and the Zephyr over here. I will probably end up moving this box over towards the studio slightly. I've got plenty of room to make that work, and honestly, with the amount of new products that are in the 56 inch to 64 inch size range, it'll probably serve me well down the line to make that space now. So I'm probably going to start over here and get this boxed up. That's going to take a little while. I don't think I'm going to film much with it, so I will be back with you shortly. Alright, I have the original reset, and I have mounting brackets up for these two. I'm going to go ahead and just get the Baron completely tied up since that one can be done and good. And then I'll just drop the Zephyr in here and see if I need to make any adjustments. I'm just a couple of inches off where I need to be, so I'm hoping I have enough slack that I can pick up somewhere along this wire. Otherwise, I'll probably just trim it back into this space and do a splice, and then I can land wherever I need to. So I will be back once I figure this out. Alright, here we are all finished up. They look so great. This doesn't encroach into the studio too much, so that's good. And it just provides quite a bit more flexibility for both of these locations. I could go up to something like 64 inch in this spot and bring this one back down to 52 inch. There are just quite a few more scenarios that I can play with now, and there is probably a bit more I could squeeze out of this one to be able to do two 60 inch right next to each other. I kind of just got what I needed for the time being, but now I know that there is some extra to work with if I need it in the future. I did go ahead and get the controls mounted and labeled. That's about all I have for today. I need to move on to another task, so I will see you back soon. Hello, I'm back. Today began with running to get some materials for a project that I started years ago, and for the moment now I've kind of gotten as far as I can with that, but I can show you what's going on. So we are headed into the back storage. My plan has always been to better optimize these little spaces that I have at the ends of these shelving units. This unit has stood in and served its purpose, but for what I've been throwing on it, it's just not an efficient use of space. There's just a lot of unused vertical area on here. So what I've always wanted to do is just have a bunch of smaller, very narrow spaced shelving. An area where I can set out and store some of my better condition light kits, hang trues, that type of thing. A lot of my light kits end up like this in large totes, but for some of the nicer ones, I don't want to be just throwing them in like that and having them get all scratched up. So I'm going to do these rail systems to try to optimize as much as I can. I got these forever ago, and actually on this side, these ones have been mounted for years. There's just always been more important things to get back to. So now today I went and got some bulk shelving, and that's already been cut down for each side of the doorway. I didn't really know exactly how much I'd need and how it's going to space out, so this is just a start, and if I need to get more, I can. And then the box stores don't really stock the 16-inch brackets required for the shelving that I got, so I just placed an online order for a bunch of those. You can see here I'm using some shorter ones on hand. I was doing this to kind of mock up and estimate how much of everything I was going to need. Since I have fewer of these shorter shelves currently cut, I think I'm going to do taller stuff on this side, and then more of the narrower stuff like this will go over to this side. Again, this was kind of just a test fit scenario to see how things were going to lay out. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to have enough stuff to really utilize everything in this type of way. I anticipate that I'm going to have some extra space to play with, but that's still going to be fantastic. I could really use some extra space for glassware, and of course there's always going to be different odds and ends that I can fit in, especially with this being so highly adjustable. And I really got hyper focused into this because I just have so many light kits randomly sitting around. You can see they're literally everywhere. This is going to help me condense everything down and be able to utilize my other spaces better, especially with what I mentioned earlier in the video, kind of reimagining my spaces and how I use them. I need to deal with a lot of this secondary clutter that's just been tossed on top of things. That'll allow me to access things and be able to move things around much easier. So this kind of seems small small in the scope of everything I want to do, but it's kind of the gateway to get other bigger things moving. So I'll be super excited to dig in and really get everything reorganized. As for the rest of today, I think I'm going to come out here and try to get these locations moved over. I want to at least try to get this one done. I'm not sure if I'm going to get over here. This whole thing is kind of a process, probably not going to film much, but I just wanted to stop in, update where I could, and let you know that I am working on something today. I'm just not going to be recording much. So I'm just going to try to get moving, and I might try to check in at least at the end of the day. Okay, I actually got both of these done in what feels like record time. I haven't hooked the Coronado back up yet. I was trying to decide if I even need to, since it's probably going to be swapped out with something else, but that's probably going to be a ways out. So in the meantime, I'll probably hook it back up to have a functional fan. But overall, I think these adjustments are going to be very helpful for making display selections going forward. My original display setup was really done for vintage products, which usually cap out at 52 inch, maybe 56 inch. And I thought the two spots kind of back in the corner would be enough for anything larger. But since completing it all those years ago, I am displaying such a wider variety of products now. The really large newer products that I do like to display are kind of taking up that zone for the stuff that was slightly larger back in the day. So this little bit of time and work invested is going to be a game changer for things going forward. I don't really have anything else planned for vlogging today. I really wanted to make sure I got that shelving project moving, and between that and this, which were the two things I wanted to get done today, they both went way quicker than expected, which, as you know, that never happens for me. So while I could find something to do for this, I think I'm gonna log off. There's a few other things that I can do around here. I've got regular videos I can film, and I have also not gotten to clean anything in my new sink yet. So I may see if I can clean up something in my backlog. So I don't know for sure where I'll be when I come back. I may be working on organizing the new shelving back here, since hopefully the new brackets will be here by then. That is a priority to get to, but it's also not a priority if something else comes up. So we will see what develops, and I will see you back soon. Hello, I am here. I don't have a ton of time to do much tonight, but I have a few minutes where I can keep pushing forward on something. So I am coming down to see what more I can get done on this shelving project. The other day the proper brackets did arrive, and I was able to get these up on this side. Nothing is really in final form yet. I just needed to get some of the more fragile stuff off, as well as the pile that was on top. Now I can get in here, slide this stuff out of the way, and get my rails mounted for this side. So I'm at least going to start with that and see how far I get from there. Alright, this is where I'm at. I've already stayed longer than I intended to, but once I got started, I was really on a roll with this. A lot of it just really intuitively fell into place. As you can see, it's working pretty well. The space efficiency of this is really unmatched. I have a pretty solid majority of this shelf already condensed into half the space that this took up, and on top of that, it's all laid out and not just piled on top of each other. To access anything, you really only have to move one or two things. That's going to be a real time saver, not having to dig to the bottom of a pile, and everything should stay in much nicer condition. So I am really pleased with this so far and can't wait to continue. For now, I am going to head out, and I will see you back again soon. Hello, I've just been here working on the shelving project for the last hour or so. I've kind of reached a point where I'm going to have to pause and regroup a little bit. So for this side, I want to cut a few more shelves before I completely decide how I'm going to set this up. It's much easier to figure everything out when you can kind of fill as you go. I'm thinking that I'm going to use some of the top portion to expand my glass storage. But again, I want to be able to gauge it a little bit better with the proper supplies on hand. This side is looking really good. I shuffled a few things here and there for best optimization. My dad actually got this one shelf cut to fit for me earlier, so that was a huge time saver. So there's still a little bit of working room over here. How I utilize the rest of that kind of depends on what I do over here. I need a better feel for what I can do over here before I make final decisions for that. And then clearing off the rest of this and kind of finding a home for all the random stuff is going to be a bit more of a task. I have spots where I think some of it can be worked in, but then there's also a bunch of other random stuff that I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with. But overall, I'm feeling really good about it so far, and the space optimization is truly fantastic. And I just noticed standing here, as soon as I thought I had all of my loose floating light kits accounted for, there are a few more I need to squeeze in over here. So I will do that just as soon as I'm done here. With that, I am going to go ahead and close this one out. I was doing some rough editing on this one, and I didn't make it all the way through to see exactly where I'm at, but I think I have enough to wrap this one up, especially since it's the end of the weekend where I'm at right now. I don't know when exactly I'm going to be back to doing anything. Apologies again that it took a little while to get this series back up and running, but there's a lot happening and a ton to do, so there should be plenty more coming your way soon. As always, thank you all for watching. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the bell before you leave, and I will see you next time. Click left to watch another vlog, or click right for my entire shop vlog playlist to start at the beginning.